Thanks so much for taking the time to spend with us here. My name is Dimitri. I am the CEO of Mind Studio, and there are a couple of other team members here as well out of this big group of people. You will see them in the chat. If you have the ability to open up the chat window, and you've got like a second screen or whatever, that's always interesting because people tend to ask questions in chat. If you do ask questions, instead of unmuting, please ask them in chat. And then as we take breaks throughout the thing to look at some questions, Luis will help me sort of bubble some of them up. And then we will let you unmute or ask you to unmute, and you can ask your question and all of that. And also remember, I always tell people there's no such thing as stupid questions, only stupid answers. So if you've got a question that seems stupid, chances are many other people have that question. So please don't hesitate to ask it in chat. You guys have seen my face now, and I'll come back on this, but most of this is going to be, me sharing my screen because there are things visually that I want to show you. For those that just joined, I've been telling people, please, especially in these like early few minutes of our conversation, go to our website. In fact, let me share my screen, and I'll show you exactly where it is, and install the extension that I will be using here with you. So if you go to mindstudio.ai, click free Chrome extension, and just install this extension. I obviously have it installed already, and then it'll be available. And once you've installed it, you'll get this little thing here on the right-hand side. Okay. And let me put you guys on the screen here. It's got this little control here at the bottom. You can use it to move it around to sort of get it out of the way of things. If you hover over it, it sort of bounces like this. There's this caret at the top. You can expand it, and here you can actually scroll through it. These are AI agents here that I'll be demoing, and they are pinned, and I'll explain to you what that means. And by default, it's going to be closed, and you won't have any agents pinned. And so when you click on this M, it will open up this side drawer. And then again, here, there are a bunch of these AI agents that we'll be going through. That's how the extension works. The extension is really easy. You just install it, and then you get this thing, and then it's around, and that's how you use it. Okay? Okay, great. So again, we're mindstudio.ai, and I don't know what this little check mark is that's over here. One of our things. I've never seen this thing. I don't know what that is. And we specialize in this thing called AI agents, right? And so you can, obviously browse our site and read up about it and go through all of these things, but I'm just going to jump into this little tab right here, AI agents or browse AI agents. So along with the extension, by the way, when you're on our site, you see the extension disappears. You don't have it on the site. This is just to keep the clutter off of this thing here. But when you're on, any other website, the extension is here for you, or, YouTube, or like anywhere else, you'll get the extension that's here and allows you to do this stuff. Okay. So along with the extension is something we call the agent store. And so when you first log in, you will get, these agents here that are organized in categories. Now I scroll down because I'm obviously already logged in, and I've got a bunch of other things that you don't yet have. I've got a section called starred. And this means favorited. I'll show you later how you can favorite these AI agents. They show up at the top, and so they're starred. There's 14 more here, as you can see. My AI agent, again, during this session, I will show you that you can take the AI agents we've built and you can make copies of them easily and customize them for yourself and publish them. And so those will be called your agents. And so they will be here. I've got 314 more over here. And again, if I click here, obviously I go to this like big thing here. And then below that, which is what you have by default, you have categories of agents in our store. This is a new product for us, this Chrome extension and this agent store. And so we're just getting started. There's a few dozen AI agents here. We're going to be deploying another, I think, 24 by Monday here. And so this is just growing. Soon you'll have hundreds, eventually thousands. At this moment, we the company have created these agents, the vast majority of these. But if you start to build your own agents and you want to submit them into our store, we will allow that, and we'll tell you how you can submit them, and we'll vet them quickly and get them into the store. We'll come back to that. Okay. And so again, these things are in categories. And we'll go through a bunch of these. And so don't sort of worry about me going quickly through this. I just want to give you a high level overview, so then you guys understand where things sort of live here. So there's a research category of agents to help you, get information and do research. We'll go through those. There's an analyze content category, which is for like every time that we're consuming content, engaging with content, whether it's textual or video or code or whatever. There are agents to help us do that better. And then we're starting to create categories like this, like for creators, for students, for developers. We ourselves are developers, and these agents are amazing for that. A whole YouTube category. These agents have transformed my ability to use YouTube. Like, they are a game changer. We'll demo some and we'll talk about them. So anyways, there's a bunch of really powerful things for us to show you here. If you hear me use the word AI superpowers, I tend to refer to these things as AI superpowers. That's what they feel like. I have no better sort of term for it. All I mean are these AI agents. So AI agents and superpowers, I mean the same thing. Okay, so how can you use these AI agents? So you can be, again, on a page here, and you can be reading this page, consuming it. You can click this button, and that will open up this agent store. And again, here you'll get the start agents. Again, you won't have any yet. My agents, you won't have any yet because you haven't customized any. So you'll get this thing right here, that says research and others. And then you can scroll through them like this, etc. I'm going to run this TLDR agent. All I have to do is say run. And what this thing is doing is it's grabbing all of the content on this page and instantly sort of summarizing and creating a TLDR for me. I can drag this thing around and I can make it bigger. And this just created a very quick summary. It also extracted some people and entities that are in here. So again, using AI agents is really easy. It's a matter of clicking a button, right? And so you can click a button directly in by opening this up and clicking it in the store here. Or you can have it closed, and once you pin AI agents, and I'll show you how to pin them again in a little bit, you can run these things directly from here. And so I can click this button, and this opens up automatically, and then we'll go and run an agent. Now, some agents take a second or less to run, or a couple of seconds to run, and some agents take longer to run. So it depends on what agent you're looking at. But again, now you know that this is how you run these agents. I'm going to let this run, and I'm going to go back to the store. And let's start digging into like what agents are available for you to use immediately. And I'm just going to sort of go down the list in this order here. If you write from the store, you can hover over these things and say run. And so I'm going to do that with this deep research agent. I'm going to click run. And here it says, what do you want to research? You can just type that in, okay? You can also, from the store, not click run, but click anywhere else and go to the detail page of each agent. And then you can sort of like read about it and watch a video of the agent. You can click to unmute, yada, yada, of this. And you can see that this agent, on average, takes 4 minutes and 46 seconds to run. Although you can see the distribution goes from as short as 21 seconds to as long as 8 minutes and 34 seconds. And it costs anywhere from, 2 cents to $1.74 to run, depending on what you're researching, how much work it has to do. And also, these detail pages often show what are the results of the run, like what happens when you run this agent, like what do you get for, in this case, on average, 76 cents. Well, here are some things that you get. So first, let's look at generally what this agent does, and then I'll show you, actually, let me quickly show you its output. And so its output is an artifact. It's a link. Here you go. You can download it. You can share it. It lives on the web. And it's I tend to refer to these as like executive summaries. It's a long report, a detailed, well-organized report. To understand, in this case, I asked it to evaluate Palantir's stock and how the election of Donald Trump might impact that stock. I ran it on February 9th. Why? Because Peter Thiel, one of Trump's biggest backers, is the co-founder of Palantir, and Palantir stands to benefit. And this thing does this like really sophisticated analysis, as you can see, linking to sources. And if you keep going down and down and down, at the bottom of all of these things, there are sources. And so it tells you, these are all the sources that it found, and these are the sources that it's using. You can links to it. It tells you exactly what data it's using from these sources. So it's a deep researcher. Now, how does it work? Um, what this thing does is, like, all of you, I suspect, have used things like ChatGPT or Claude or whatever and said, okay, well, like, how would Trump's election potentially impact Palantir stock? And these models give you a response. And you might say, wow, that's amazing. These things really understand the dynamics of this. And that's all fine and dandy. But again, if you think about it, that's not actually the best way to do research. If you were a professional, like really serious professional human researcher, that's not what you would do. What you would do is you'd step back and you say, okay, well, that's an interesting question. The first thing I need to try to figure out is to create a plan of how I might be able to do this research. Like, where might I go to get like real-time data and sort of vetted data, incredible data, to be able to evaluate this. And so you create a plan, you try to figure out where the sources might be. Then if you were like a master researcher, you would be a master being able to craft really sophisticated Google search queries using Google search operators, sometimes known as Google dorks. And so you would do that. And then you'd go and execute all of those queries, and you'd go teach one of the websites that came back, and you'd like read them and compile the data, and then sort of like normalize the data and analyze the data. And then you would create like an executive summary for your boss to be able to do that. And that'll take you, potentially 100 or even hundreds of hours. And generally probably would never do that. But that's what this thing does. What this deep researcher does is exactly what I just suggested to you. Is it creates a plan for how to use Google search to find the right sources. It then creates all of these sophisticated queries. It then executes all of those queries and finds all the results. It then crawls all the results and gets all the data. It then takes all that data and synthesizes it and normalizes it and dedupes it and enriches it and analyzes it. And then it writes this report and it cites its sources. And all of that you get with the click of a button. And it might take it 4 minutes and 46 seconds on average to come back and do it. And it might cost you a whopping 76 cents on average to get that done. But if you look at the ROI and compare it to like what would have taken you or anybody else, like it's silly. Okay, so that is deep research. Really, really powerful, extraordinarily valuable. Anyway, use it all the time. Research people is similar to deep researcher. It uses the same kind of methodology, but it specializes specifically in researching people in entities, organizations and people. And so it's fine-tuned to be able to do it. It takes about the same amount of time. Again, it can cost very little, or it can go up in price. Again, you can see distributions here. And so it can go and analyze and find all kinds of information about people. If you're familiar with the term OSINT, open source intelligence, like the ability to go and do deep research, that's what this thing is a master of doing. Really, really valuable. Fact check is also similar to these, where, this costs on average 33 cents. So it's easier to check facts. Like, here are the facts. I just got to enumerate all the claims that are being made in a piece of content and then go verify them with credible sources. Doesn't take as long as doing research, doesn't cost as much, but extraordinarily powerful. Like, if you're making decisions about who you want to vote for, or you're making decisions, what company you want to invest in, or like anything else. We live in a world where misinformation, disinformation, bias are all over the place. This is really, really powerful to be able to make, intelligent decisions. And then sort of a bunch of other things. This one is awesome. If you're in any kind of a function where you're trying to find people's contact info, like you're prospecting, you're trying to reach out to someone, and you're trying to figure out, like, how do I get their email, or how do I get their phone number, or how do I get their mailing address? You can go try to do all of that manually, or you can just push a button. You push a button. By the way, this button also like runs on on an article. So on an article, you can push that button. By the way, here's that report executive summary that it generated. We'll come back to that. But you can push a button on the article. It will find all the people and entities that are mentioned in the article and give you a menu of, multi-select menu of which of these people or entities you want contact info for. You can click all you want, push a button, and it comes back to you with, their email addresses if it can get it, their phone numbers, their physical addresses, and you get that for, an average of 3 cents a run, not even a person, that's a run. So you can find many people for 3 cents. And like game changer. It's like so frustrating trying to reach out to people and find their info. Not frustrating anymore. Killer app. Killer app. Okay. Moving down. TLDR, I already showed you. Really simple, costs fractions of a penny to run. On average, takes 3 seconds. This is the quick TLDR, just like let me parse what this thing is. And then we've got kind of more sophisticated TLDRs. This executive summary is similar to this, but much more detailed and much more thoughtful. Takes longer to run, costs a little bit more, but gives you like a well-formatted report. Again, you can watch these videos. I'm kind of rushing through this thing, but there's a bunch of these things that they're self-explanatory. Or this one is like you can take a YouTube video and turn it into an executive summary. Let's go ahead and do that. And again, most of these things I'll do from the Chrome extension. Let me make sure this is muted. Cool. And again, whatever, great. We can take this one here. And then over here, again, I can be in this thing being pinned, and I can use them from here. Or because you're not going to get them pinned, I'm going to show you how you do it. Where you go here, and again, you're going to have these agents here. You can find it either here, or you can find it down in the YouTube section. In the YouTube section, you get that as well. And so I can just say run, and this thing is gonna, what does this thing do when you do it on a YouTube page? It's smart. So it knows not to look at like this content. That's not the content. The real content is hidden over here in this transcript. And so it grabs the transcript and then it analyzes the transcript and then it creates an executive summary. Again, we don't have to wait for these things. First of all, we can click here and it'll notify us, or we can open up a new page and do it. So you remember I clicked on this article back when we started to get this like executive summary for this thing, and it created again this executive summary for me. And again, it's an artifact. So I can enable sharing. I can copy the link, send it, post it to my blog, embed it anywhere, etc. And that's how these things work. They're private to you unless you make them shared, and then they're doing it. Okay, and so again, I'm going to leave this thing running. I'm going to go back to this and multitask here some more. So where are we? Oh yeah, you took to executive summary. Yeah, some more things here. So this one is also really powerful. When we're consuming content, oftentimes, there are things in it that might not be clear. There are acronyms, there are ambiguities, there are things that are missing. And that what this AI does is it's specifically tuned to look for that. Like, what might the reader or the viewer, the consumer, not understand? What might be not so clear? What might be too esoteric, etc. And then it creates, basically expands on it. It fills it in. It enriches the content and gives you all of those things unpacked. So it's like your thinking assistant. This one removes bias from content. Whenever content is written, it's human nature. It comes with some form of bias. And this thing is specifically tuned to take the perspective of, like, let me scrutinize this for bias. And so all of these things I find myself, again, I've had access to this extension for about a month as we've been beta testing these, and as these things come out, I tend to find that like using these, multiple agents on the same piece of content allows me to like digest that piece of content, look at it from different angles or different dimensions or through different filtered glasses. And when I look at it in this way, I see it this way, and when I look at it that way, I see that. And that's extraordinarily powerful. So that's remove bias, simplifies like it sounds. It takes things, makes it much easier. to understand, like dumps them down, let's say. If there are comments that are on videos or blogs or wherever, you can click this. It grabs all the comments and analyzes the comments. So, like you can look at those. This one looks at it and says, what things are being implied but not being said? Like sort of read between the lines. What might they mean when they're speaking ambiguously? If you listen to, folks talk about in US politics about some of these cuts that Doge is making, there are a lot of things that are not being said but are being implied. And so this thing is crazy to be able to see it with a click of a button. Okay. This one is says people are going to be biased. That's great. Let's lean into that. And let's give you the other biased side. Find all the biases and write the opposing viewpoints. And so you can now see what would the other side say about that. So it lets you evaluate that. Okay. So these are really, really powerful everywhere you go to be able to analyze these things. Okay. And so again, as I was talking, we had the executive summary that was created from the YouTube video. And again, this thing is really sophisticated and it's an artifact. You can expand it, you can download it, you can share it, and you got that with a click of a button. I find myself using these YouTube things. I love YouTube, um, but I don't love that it takes so long to watch videos.
Hey,
And some,
Dimitri,
uh-huh,
sorry to interrupt. We're getting a bunch of folks that are asking about building some of these things,
yeah.
just as a heads up.
Let's jump in. I like it. Okay, I'll spend 2 more minutes on this and then we'll build some stuff. Yeah? Okay. And by the way, for those of you that are interested in building, after this class, you'll find that we've got a bunch of tutorials and you can watch other pre-recorded versions of this that were like 2.5 hours. We'll see how long we go today. And so you'll get lots of ability to see how to build these things, I promise. Okay. Yeah, just so again, just to quickly finish the thought. And so like the YouTube stuff becomes really, really valuable. And that's why I've got a whole category for it. And you guys should expect many other things that are here. Okay, let's open up these things and let's see how they're built, and then we'll build some. Okay, so I'm going to go back to this deep research thing. Okay, so what can you do from this detail page? Well, you can run this thing, right? And you can see the video and you can see the samples and you can see, sort of version history as things get changed, yada, yada, yada on this. The other thing you can do is these three little dots over here, this kebab menu. You can click on these. And so this allows you to star this, right? And that means it'll show up at the top of your list here. You remember that? Things that are starred, when you click on this, show up high over here, they're starred. Also, you can pin things, and things that are pinned show up here. So this can always sort of be open as you're browsing around, and I've got a lot of them, so you can do that. And so here you can star this, you can pin it, or you can unpin it, etc. And the last thing you can do here is make a copy, and that's what we're going to do. Now, before I click this button, I want to warn you. Coffee. If this is the first time you're going to be seeing this, you might say, whoa, that's a lot of stuff here, and that's complicated, whatever. But I assure you that by the end of this call, you're not going to have that opinion anymore. You're going to say, oh, I actually understand that, and I'm going to go play with that. So this is a really sophisticated researcher that I told you does all those steps. We're about to look at them. But once you understand how to use Mind Studio to customize these things by making a copy of them and customizing them, which is what we're going to do, or making new ones, you will realize that this is actually extraordinarily accessible, meaning all of these things that I'm going to show you, you can learn to build and customize to make for yourself. It doesn't require any technical skills. You don't need any computer science degree or anything like that. And so anyway, so I'm going to say, make a copy, and I'm going to show you around. This is like opening up the hood and just sort of like looking inside. You don't have to understand all of it yet. We'll come back and then I'll teach you the basics and you guys will understand. We'll come back to this again and you guys will understand it. Okay, I'm going to say make a copy. And what you get here, and again, I apologize, I have no idea what this weird check mark is. It's not our stuff here, but I might have installed something else that gave me this check mark. I don't know. And so this is our editor. And so it's built into Mind Studio. And again, you can get to it by simply being on the on any agent page, right? Browse agents, on being on any of these agents, and then clicking on it and then saying, make a copy. It's that easy. I didn't do anything other than that. And so let me close some of these tabs so we don't get too confused as I do more stuff. Close that, we'll close that, we'll stay here. Okay, great. There's a bunch of things here, don't worry about them. The most important stuff is this thing here called automations and these things here. So agents are made up of these things called workflows. An individual agent can have multiple workflows. This one has got 5, but it's got 2 primary ones, the main flow and the run query flow. And again, the agent, these workflows are basically sort of like a series of these things we call blocks. Now, I can also collapse these things, so I'm going to do that just to give us some more room, and you can zoom in and out of these things, right? And there are these blocks. And this thing starts on the start block, and it ends on the end block, and in between, there are many other blocks that you can have. If you hit plus, you can add more blocks. We have many blocks. We'll come back to all of these blocks that we have here for being able to do stuff, analyze images or generate charts or create logic, if this go here, if that go there, or present menus or, jump transition to other workflows or, engage with social media, Facebook, Instagram, create LinkedIn posts, X posts, etc., engage with Google, services. This is the Hunter.io company that allows us to get like contact info about people, the phone numbers and email. So anyway, lots, and we're adding blocks every single week, many blocks. So that's what these things are. There's a block. And then if you click on a block on the right-hand side, you get the interface of what the block does. So depending on what the block is, the right-hand side changes. Now let's again look at this deep research. Now we've made a copy of it. You see it's called copy of deep research. And I can call this, I'm going to create a new one called financial deep research. This thing is going to be a deep research analyzer specifically that allows me to evaluate, companies, should I invest in their stock or not? And so I can do that. This is my agent. I made a copy of it. And so it's completely mine. You're not going to break the agent that you made a copy of. That's that. This is your copy. If you mess it up and you want to delete it, easy. Make a copy of another one. You can create many copies of these agents and create different researchers for many different things that you want to do and make them extraordinarily nuanced for yourself. And because this thing is built, think of it as like a template. You don't have to build anything from scratch with this. You just customize it. Well, again, let's see if we can understand what this thing does. So the first thing it does is it uses a generate text block. This is kind of our most popular block. It means call an AI model. And in this case, it's calling this Claude 3.7 Sonnet model here, but I can click here. And we support over 50 models from all the major providers: Amazon, Anthropic, Google, Meta, Mistral, Cohere, DeepSeek, OpenAI, obviously, yada, yada. And so if you wanted to, for example, take this and change this model, you just say use. That's it. We just changed the model. It's that easy. Want to change it again? You can change it again. Okay. And you can play around with this. That's the cool thing about it. Again, create it, run it. You don't like it? Change it another way. By the way, we have a tool here called Profiler that we're not going to talk deeply about here, but allows you to, in real time while you're building these, uh, uh, evaluate many models. Each one of these columns is a different model that I can configure and evaluate them for quality for the step of the process that we're creating, and cost and latency and all that. So you can go wild with models. Okay. And then it has a prompt. And this prompt says, analyze the request. Now, this request it's talking about is the user's request, and create a research plan for how to best leverage Google search. Remember I told you this thing is a master Google searcher. It knows all of the Google search operators, all of the best practices on how you would be able to use Google to facilitate search. And so it creates a plan to do this. This is a build a research plan. Think about what questions you might ask, what types of sources would be useful, focusing on answering the user's questions, yada, yada. And then here at the bottom, it says, here's the request of the user. Now, these things in double curly braces, these are called variables. Okay. And so you can pass variables to this thing. And the variable that we pass to this one is the user's request that's collected when the user types into the form what do they want to research, or they do it from the website. Great. And then it saves the response of this model, what comes back, it saves it a new variable called plan. Okay, so this thing says, get the request from the user, call the model, asking the model to create a plan to leverage Google search, and save the result of that in a variable called plan. And then it goes to the next block, which also is a generate text block. And again, this calls a 3.7 sonnet, but if we wanted to, you guys know we could change that and use something else. I'm going to leave it here. And this one says, here's the plan. Okay, we now created a variable here called plan. There you go. And now we're using that variable. Again, double curly braces. Now this notation here that looks sort of like an HTML tag, this is optional. This is like best practices. I could actually remove this, and do something like, here is the plan, and do that. And again, you want to kind of delimit for the model, like where does the plan end? Because the plan's going to be long, and here it is. So there's a bunch of different ways to do it. You guys have played around with ChatGPT and Claude. I assume a bunch of you know generally how to prompt these things. That's all these things are. They're just a prompt. Okay, and then it says, here's the plan. Using the plan, generate an array of 7 diverse and distinct Google search queries that will help you gather the data, blah, blah, blah. Now, we can change any of this stuff. And we can say, array of, instead of 7, we can say of as many as needed, or 10, or whatever, diverse search queries. And again, you can play around with this. It's just English. There's nothing hard here. And then save them to a variable called queries. Now, you can also specify how you want to save it, whether you want to save it as just text, or in this case, we're saving it as JSON. JSON is a type of format for basically storing data, right? And it just makes it even easier for the models to understand what it is you're trying to do. I'm not going to get into it here. We've got tutorials on our website about this. I will also do more advanced classes where we will really dive into it. You guys will understand JSON. For now, don't worry about it. All you need to know is that we created a plan, then we took that plan and we created queries, an array of queries, many queries. Initially, it was going to be 7, but here I said as many as needed, or I could say 20 or 100 or whatever. And then it uses a different type of block called the run workflow block. And what the run workflow block does is it allows you to run a different workflow. In this case, it runs this run query workflow. And so for each query in that array, it goes and it runs this workflow, which uses a JavaScript function to search Google, pick the right results, crawl the results, pull all of the data from it, format them, and then bring them back. And so it loops over and over and over for as many times as there are queries in this array that we created here. And then it gets all the information. So this one block with this workflow does all of that gathering, does all the querying of Google, getting the search results page, finding all the links, crawling all the links, getting all that data. All of that is done by this one little block and this run query flow that it executes via a loop. And then it brings all of that back and it normalizes the data. Whoops, the sources here. It compiles a report. It runs a different workflow to generate an image, to find an image actually on Google image search. See, so it's search Google images, etc. And then it creates a report and it generates the report, and here it is. And that's how this thing works. And again, this takes on average 4 minutes and some odd seconds to run, and it does a lot of work. And then you can use it. And by the way, when you change it, you can just say publish. And I'm just going to publish this. I really didn't change it much. But I just want to show you how easy it is to like make the changes and publish it. Now it's yours. And then you can use it from your extension, or you can open it up in a brand new tab, and you can get it. You can tell it what it is you want to search for. It's like really easy to create custom researchers for yourself to do exactly what you want them to do, simply by making a copy of one of our agents and then customizing this thing. Again, it's very understandable. And this is like about as complex as these things get. So I showed you a complex one first. Let's look at some others that are a bit less complex, but like just as interesting and powerful. Why don't we look at, let's see, some of these like YouTube things, YouTube to LinkedIn post. First of all, what does this thing do? Well, it allows me to be on a YouTube video and push a button, and it grabs the transcript of the YouTube video, and it extracts all the salient points, and then let's make a copy as we're doing it, and then it generates a post that makes sense to do on LinkedIn, to post to LinkedIn, and allows you to do look this whole agent is only basically these two blocks. One is generate text. You're an expert in breaking down long form content and engaging structured tweet storms. Oh, this thing says tweet storm, so somebody made a copy of a tweet storm and left it here. But again, it doesn't matter, it still works because it's just like engaging stuff. Given the transcript of any YouTube video, extract the most valuable insights, summarize them concisely, return only, again, this says the tweet storm, nothing else. We can modify this. And then it gives you this. Louis, we should fix this. Somebody made a wrong copy of this YouTube to LinkedIn post generator. And then it says, great, display this thing. Okay, so again, most of these things are really easy. Let's make a fresh one because somebody made a crappy version. Let's make a new one. At the top here, when you go to build, right, we've been on this agents page, we can go to build, and then we can say create new agent. And we're going to create a new agent from scratch. And let's create that YouTube to LinkedIn post generator. Let's just do it here live, okay? It's going to take us just a couple of minutes. Okay, so I'm just going to go to automations. I said create new. We got this blank thing. I'm going to go to automations. There are two blocks over here. Again, I'm going to collapse this. We don't need this here. And here they are. And so when this start block is important, when you click on it on the right-hand side here, you can see that you can create AI agents that get triggered in different ways. One way is on demand, and that means that it's just a link when you publish it. It's just a web application. It's a link. On demand means you loaded the link. So you like went to the link in your browser, and there it is. A human went there on demand and did it. Another way you can do it is scheduled, and then you can create a schedule. So these things can run on a schedule automatically. The other way you can do it is via email. So you get a custom email address here, and anytime this email address receives an email from you with the email, subject and body and attachments, all of those become variables that the agent can use to do. So you can email your agent, like CC your agent. You can create like an email assistant, and whenever you CC it, it gets that email from you. Then it can run something and do it. But we're going to create one that runs in the browser extension. And when we do that, you can see here on the right-hand side at the top, you get these things called launch variables. And so let's quickly take a look at what they are. So again, we're clicking on this from a YouTube video, right? And so if we're on a YouTube video, let's just quickly load any YouTube video here. This one here. The URL, that's this thing. And so, whoops, we get that. We get the metadata. So this is the metadata, the name, the title, the open graph image, and all that stuff, the metadata. Then we get this page content. And that is when you're on a YouTube video, page content is the transcript. But when you're on an article, page content is the text of the article. So YouTube is special when it comes to page content, but that's a good one to use here. Then you get the user selection. So if the user is highlighting anything or right-clicking anything, that you get in a variable called user selection. And then you also get the raw HTML, which is like all of the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And all of these variables are instantly loaded with that data simply by me clicking a button on this YouTube video. By the way, the other thing we can do, since we're making it specifically for YouTube, right? Let's call it, I'll call it YT to LinkedIn post. You can go right here and you can say enabled URLs. You can say add. And here I can just say that this thing only appears on these URLs right here. It only appears on YouTube watch things. I can put an asterisk here. And so any YouTube video page will then show me this button, and this button will be available on it. But any page that's not, doesn't match this pattern, it won't be available on it. So this is specifically for that enabled URLs. Cool. And you can enable multiple URLs and all that. Okay, great. So we've now set it up that we can use it in our browser extension. We can only use it on these YouTube watch video pages, and we can keep going. Then I can say plus. And here is kind of our first step is great. What are we going to do? Well, we're going to call a model. And for that model, again, we're going to take this variable here, page content, and we're going to say extract all the salient points. By the way, you can use any language you like. I like to use it like this. You can write it in whatever way you want from this. And kind of the more you tell it, the better it is at figuring out. You don't have to say it's a YouTube transcript, but I like to say it. Okay, and then you can say like this. In here, you can say, page content, right? There it is. That's it. And so we're going to call a model, and it's going to extract the salient points from this page content. Whoops. Let me do this periodically. My thing gets me a bug here. Okay. And so here it is. And here, instead of displaying it to a user, we're going to save it to a variable. And we're going to call this, points. You guys with me so far? I see like some faces, I see nodding, Hans, sort of.
Yes.
It'll get easier. Okay, awesome. Okay, so we said start. We said we're going to get this variable automatically called page content, which is going to give us the transcript here. And then we're going to call a model, in this case, 3.5 haiku. That's perfectly fine. And we're going to ask it to extract all the salient points from this thing. And again, this just expands all the page content and gives it the entire transcript. In this variable is the entire transcript. So the model just sees the entire transcript. And then when it comes back, the result, we're just going to save it to a new variable called points. Okay, then what are we going to do? We're going to go say plus, and we're going to use another generate text block. And here we're going to say, using these salient points, write a linked in post. Then I'm going to say use emojis because LinkedIn likes emojis, although these models generally know LinkedIn likes as well. And here I can just say points, right? Because we created this variable over here called points. Okay, so we got the page content, we called the model, said extract all the points, stored it in a variable called points. Then we went here and we said, using these salient points, write a LinkedIn post. And here are the points. Okay, and then here, by the way, we can say, leave this display to user. And we've actually already created our generator for this LinkedIn post generator. Let's go ahead and say publish. And then I'm just going to go to this video over here. And I am going to go over here. I'm going to click the button. And again, now in our agents, my agents, because I just created this agent, we have this new thing called YT to LinkedIn post. And I can say run. And so this thing is going to go find the transcript on the page, grab the transcript, extract the salient points, and then call another model. And that model is going to write for us what it thinks is a good LinkedIn post. Now, again, you can be much better at this than simply saying, write me a good LinkedIn post. You can give it more instructions. But look at this thing that it wrote. Breaking news, AI-powered fact checking, just witnessed an incredible demonstration, blah, 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 blah. It's not bad for like doing nothing, and that's how we got it. But it says, here's a LinkedIn post draft. And that's cool, but we don't need it to be verbose here. And so we can go back in here, and here we can say, return only the post and no other narrative or no other words or whatever. You guys get to choose. Okay, I'm actually going to make this save to a variable. I'm going to save it to a variable. I'm going to call this variable post. And I'm going to add another block. And I'm going to go over here to these view blocks. And again, we can look at these blocks. I kind of went through them pretty rapidly before, but some of these blocks are like social media blocks. One of them is create LinkedIn post. And so I'm going to add this block here. By the way, when you get this kind of behavior periodically, you can just click on this button here, auto arrange, instead of like doing it yourself. And this thing is smart at auto arranging. And so now we're going to look at this. And this thing, for you, when you first use it, it's going to say, hey, I don't know any accounts for you, so you need to create an account. So it's going to ask you to log in. It's going to ask you to add a connection. It's just OAuth. It just lets you log in. So you log in with your LinkedIn account, and once you're logged in, it knows about your LinkedIn account, so you can always access it. You can also use more accounts. You can add more accounts. If you manage multiple accounts, you can do that too. And here you can say, just give it what you want it to do. You can include variables. And we already have a variable called post. And so we can simply go here and we can say post. Now we can add other things here, etc. And now I'm going to go ahead and publish this again. And now I'm going to go here again, and I'm just gonna, close this, open this up again. By the way, I could have just said new run, but I just want to show you again how you guys access this. You just say run, and it's gonna run. While it's running, I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna add it to start. I'm gonna click here, and I'm gonna pin it to my extension, so I'll always have it with me now. Right? There are other things in here that you can see. You can do another run of this. You can open it up in a new tab. You can edit it, obviously, copy it, etc. And so this thing posted that thing to my LinkedIn. And let's go take a look at that. And then I forgot that I should have added another step, but perfect. We will go ahead and add that again. So you can have you can iterate with these things nicely. There it is. Revolutionizing fact checking. See, this just got posted now. This is the post that just got made by me pushing a button. I'm going to delete this. And we're going to go back. I'm going to show you that if you're going to make one of these, and because we're serious about making, instead of just posting right away, we should go plus here before we post. And we're going to go plus here, and we're going to say display content. And here we're just going to say post. And so what this will allow us to do is before it posts to LinkedIn, again, we're just going to say publish. Before it posts to, and here I'm just going to say new run again to show you how to do it. It's going to display for us the post that it generated. And then if we like it, we can hit next, and then it'll post. Not because you don't want to just post stuff you haven't seen. Okay, hopefully you guys get the point of this. You can sort of, it's easy to go in and play around with one, remixing these blocks, you're making copies. There it is. If we like it, then we can say next, and it's going to post. I'm not going to say next because you guys already know how it works. So the easiest first thing you should do is install the extension, go to the store. You will have, again, these agents over here. Oops. Starting with research here, you can make a copy of any of these agents by clicking this, saying make a copy. Now that's your copy. You can go to automations and you can see how they work. And then you can customize them for yourself. And then you can publish them. You can also, when you run these things, we have a really sophisticated debugger here that we can actually see here. If I open this up over here again, and I go to debugger, you can see these runs that I've done and what this thing is actually doing behind the scenes. So the run started, creates sort of unique run IDs. It passes in all the launch variables, and so it gets that. Then it gives you all the metadata over here, right? That's showing up from the metadata that it got here, the open graph things and all that. So it's creating those launch variables, right? And then the first thing it does is it sends that message to the model. It says extract all the salient points. Here's the page content. Again, that's all the page content that came in here. And then, it keeps going through all of that, and that took, cost a fraction of a penny to run. And again, you can see how long these things take, and then it calls the other model, and then it formats it. And as you can see, the whole thing cost a fraction of a penny to run, to create our LinkedIn post generator. And you can do this in real time. When you run this thing, again, let's come back to this. I'm going to go back here. I'm going to open this thing up. And then we'll sort of watch it happening in real time. This will be always interesting to watch. I'm going to say run, and I'm going to quickly go back here. And let's see, there it is. And so we can see this thing running in real time. You see, there it is. It's running the stuff right now. And calling the second model. And here, see, it's already generated the salient points. Here are the salient points. And then took those salient points and it routed them to another model with instructions. And that came back with, here's the article that it's written, the post, and it displayed it. And then again, we can do it. Okay, so I'm going to pause here for a bit and see if that made sense and where we might want to go from here. We're at an hour. Again, some of you may want to leave. If that's what you want to do, feel free and do that. Again, the recording will be available, so don't be afraid. If you want to stay, we will stay with you here and we'll take you deeper and answer your questions. Louis.
Dimitri, there are I've been just kind of tracking the chat a little bit, and I have a couple of recurring questions that I think would be good to cover.
Mhm.
one of the main questions that I've seen come up a couple of times is around pricing and understanding how much these things cost to run. How do
Hmm.
we how do we evaluate that as we start to build our AI agents?
Hmm. So when you are building, so when you're using these agents, let's go back to Mind Studio. When you're using these agents, again, when you're using the agents that we've created just from the store, when you click on here, it will show you the average cost, and again, a distribution of how much this may cost. And again, there's a range because it depends on, how big is the content that you're evaluating, and what is it writing? And so this is the rangers. That's how much it costs. So it depends on what these things are. They cost from fractions of pennies to, 70 cents is kind of like the most expensive one that could even go to $1. And so you can see them here when you're doing it. When you're building your own agent, as you're building it, you remember, let's go back to that agent we just built, and let's open it up for editing. When you're building this agent, you will see there it is. You can see the cost of it when in this debugger. So you can see there it is. You can also see it when you're building it and you're calling these models. I showed you, let me show you that profiler thing that I hinted at. So for each step where you're calling a model, so how many models do we call here? We call a model here, we call a model here. Display content doesn't cost anything, just displays content. Create a LinkedIn post doesn't cost anything, but calling models does cost stuff. And it depends on what model you're calling. Some models are cheaper than others. We publish prices on our pricing page. If you scroll to the bottom, you get an itemized price for 1,000,000 tokens for both prompting and response. So there's two sides, calling it and getting the response back for 1,000,000 tokens. So you can look at these and choose your models based upon, cost in this way. And also when you're here, and again, you can see it in the debugger, how much these things are costing. You can also go to this thing called Profiler. And on Profiler, you can compare models to one another. And so I'm just going to create another column here. You can create as many as you like. And for each one of these, you can choose a different model. So here I'll leave Claude 3.5 Haiku. Here I will change this to Gemini 1.5 Flash. And here we're going to take this and we're going to change this to Claude 3.7 Sonnet. And so now we've got these three models. And we can say, right, well, you'd probably say the thing that really makes sense to you that you're building, but I'm just going to say write a poem. And as you can see, it's going to execute this in real time with all three of these models. And we can see here, first of all, I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. At the bottom, you can see the latency and the cost for each model. You can also see sort of the output, the default output. And you can also see, sort of qualitatively, like you can read these things and say, which is a better poem? Which one is better for this step? And so again, you can add as many of these things as you want and evaluate these models for each step in your workflow that you need by cost, quality, and latency. And so you can fine tune your agents to be awesome and fast and inexpensive. And so you've got access to cost control. Now, our pricing model is kind of like Stripe, if you guys are familiar with Stripe, which is basically a usage model. It's free plus usage costs. Or if you want single sign-on and a bunch of other things for your enterprise. By the way, there's over 150,000 of these AI agents deployed across all kinds of, small business, mid-market, enterprise, government, the British IRS, His Majesty's Revenue and Customs is a customer and uses it in their HR recruiting function and things like that. And so some people come to us and they want a business tier, that's a custom, or it's the community tier, it's free to use, but we charge you 2.9% processing fee over what we pay to the model providers. This is your cost. And so if you went directly to individual models, you would save 2.9%, but you wouldn't get all of this other goodness. You'd need to write all this code and do all of that. That's all it is. And by the way, at scale, this thing goes down, logarithmically to 0.15%. So it's cheap to start and run at small scale, and it's cheap to run at large scale. There should never be a reason that you want to switch and do it yourself directly to go to models. The other thing, of course, that's important to understand here is like these models, their infrastructure is still pretty new. And so they have a tendency to fail actually quite frequently. And so they go up and down, sometimes on a daily basis. And if you're just only using one model and you sort of hard coded it to your app, well, you're kind of stuck. Here, you can instantly take it and change it to another model. And because you're using models to do small things, not saying to one model, here's text and go and write me an amazing LinkedIn post. I said, no, one model extracts things, another model does another thing. Well, I can switch, any models can do these little tasks. And you can fail over, you've got redundancy, you've got sort of the best of all worlds. But anyway, that's the pricing. Hopefully that makes sense.
Thanks, Dimitri. The other big question that I've seen a lot in the chat has to do around privacy and data security. I think a lot of people are definitely interested in that. What does the extension have access to? What do these models have access to? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Absolutely. So as I mentioned, a lot of the usage, so the Chrome extension, as I mentioned earlier, and the agent store are new. They're like less than 2 weeks old. But we've been in market since last September, so a year and a half. As I mentioned, there's already over 150,000 of these AI agents that are deployed before any of this Chrome extension stuff. And as I mentioned, they're deployed in all kinds of organizations, and obviously all of those organizations are security conscious and privacy conscious, especially when you're talking about government agencies or large enterprises, et cetera. So we are SOC 2 Type 1 compliant, audited. We are about to get SOC 2 Type 2 compliance and GDPR. So we take the privacy really seriously in security. We follow modern best practices for privacy and security. Everything that's stored in our system is encrypted, again, audited, et cetera. There are different areas where you might be concerned, although again, I'll explain to you that you shouldn't be, but where you might ask questions of like, what could happen here? One of them is that some organizations, especially like these large organizations that are in healthcare or are in sort of other very sensitive and have high compliance needs, very sensitive situations, ask the question, well, like, can I trust OpenAI or Anthropic or Google or Meta or any of these companies with data? Can I send data to their models? Like, are they going to use that data to train on it? And is that data then going to leak, et cetera? So the way that we interface with these cloud providers is via their APIs. Like, we don't chat with them. Our systems query their services and get responses back. And in that situation, all of those providers explicitly state in their terms of service that when you use their API to engage with them, that none of that data is kept, none of that data is used for training. So as long as you trust these big model, oh, by the way, there's two exceptions. One is Cohere, another one is DeepSeek. So just heads up, those at this moment don't have those terms in their terms of service. So if you're super privacy conscious and you're afraid that Cohere or DeepSeek might train on your data, don't use those, use others. But all the other ones are clear to use. The other way you should think about them is like all those companies are really sort of proxies for larger companies. So Anthropic is like Google and Amazon are investors. OpenAI is primarily Microsoft that's an investor. And of course, obviously, Google and Amazon and all these others themselves should be trusted. So if you trust them, then no problem at that level. Some organizations don't trust them, and so we allow them to connect to their own private models on premise or in the private cloud. If that's a need you have, that's part of our business plan. There's some work we have to do to let that happen, but if that's a need, we can facilitate that as well. So on that model access side, you either trust the cloud providers or you don't, and you want to connect to your own model. No matter what, Mind Studio supports you. Check. On the Chrome extension, again, once you install it, doesn't do anything until you push buttons. And when you push buttons, at the time that you push the button, the Chrome extension has access to the thing that you're looking at on that page, the thing that makes up the page, the HTML of the page, and the thing you're seeing on the page. So anything that's on the page, when you push the like run agent button, that is what gets sent. And so the Chrome extension has access to that. Okay.
Thanks, Dimitri. Anne, I do see you have a hand raised, but there is just one more question that I have seen popping up inside of the chat that I've seen multiple people ask about, and that has to do with larger orchestrations. Does Mind Studio integrate well with these with other platforms? Is Mind Studio available on these bigger orchestrations? I think there are a lot of folks that are already creating or already have automation set up. Could you speak a little bit about that, Dimitri?
For sure, for sure. Yeah, so this is actually a common situation that happens. We find people who use systems like Zapier or Make or like any of these like RPA systems like MuleSoft or Automate Anywhere or any of these. And they got, they know how to use them. They've got a bunch of implementations of it. And all of a sudden they show up and they start using Mind Studio to create intelligence components to be orchestrated with these systems. So you can use Mind Studio when you publish these things and you say they're on demand. You can also get an API key. And so these AI agents get published as serverless cloud functions and they expose APIs. And you can get an API key. And then you can call those APIs from within Zapier from a Zap or a Make scenario or any of these other things, or your own code base. So like if you're writing code and you're building an application, you're a developer, you can use Mind Studio to create these like, sort of handle fuzzy intelligence components. They get deployed as serverless cloud functions, and you just call them from your code base like you'd call any other cloud function from your code base. And so this is a common pattern that we see where people use this to make components to be used in other systems that they already have.
Thanks, Dimitri. Okay, we're going to bring up a couple of folks to this stage to ask some questions. I did see that Anne had her hand raised, but recently put her hand down. Anne, are you still there?
Yeah, I am. I think Dimitri's answered the question for us. We wanted to use your platform for the non-technical members of our agency. But the couple of us that are building more complex stuff in places like N8N and Comfy UI, we don't want to sort of throw away what we've got, and so we wanted to know whether we could build those as blocks, which could then be part of having maybe a different interface or adding something to the end of it and things like that. So that was the reason for the question. But I think Dimitri's pretty much covered that. And we'd love to put some of those into the store as well, because we saw which might be a good hook for you to promote your competition that you've got, which I think's your innovation thing, which I think is brilliant.
Thank you so much. You reminded me to show you one other thing. So you guys can see my screen again, yeah? There's a block over here called run function. And again, this is for technical folks. And what run function does is it allows you to create code, basically JavaScript or Python functions, right? And we give you these like runtime environments here. And so you've got full access to be able to write any kind of connector you need, call any API, process anything simply by saying, add a run function block and configuring that. And so this thing's like ultimately extensible, that if you're a developer, if you have access to developers and there's a block we don't have, that's okay. You can build a new block that does exactly what you want it to do and connects to your system or does whatever, right? And so that it's really easy to extend the capability of Mind Studio if you've got some technical folks around. If you don't, by the way, sorry, one more time, share. We also make it easy to click this button right here, hire an expert. So whenever you're in the editor, there's a hire an expert button. And you can just tell us, this is my email here, obviously, but like it'll have your email. And you can just tell us what you are trying to do. And we have a bunch of partners. If you go here to solutions, partners, you'll see there's this apply for partnership if you're an agency or an individual developer, etc. Or you can say find Mind Studio partners. And so we've got over 150 integration partners that are here ready to make custom things for you. That if you don't want to do it yourself, or you just want a new block, you want a new function, no worries. You just ask for help in the builder here, and oh, sorry, I'm confusing you here. You guys saw it where I did it at the top right of the builder, and then somebody will get back to you really quickly, and we'll build the thing you need built. So ultimately extensible.
Thanks, Dimitri. Next up to the stage, we have Viren. Welcome.
Thanks, Luis. Thanks, Dimitri. Super cool tool. Yeah, really, really interesting. I was curious, are the agents restricted to using to just searching online effectively, or could they sort of go between online sources and internal or local databases?
Yeah, they can connect to anything. They can connect
Okay.
to any database. They can connect to anything that you've got private internally or externally. Like sometimes you might need to like open up, ports for them to connect to things that they need to connect to internally. But yeah, it's just behind the scenes it's just code, and so anything that you can do with that, you can do with it.
All right, awesome. Thank you.
Good to see you, by the way. Long time.
Yeah.
Likewise.
Thanks, Viren.
Okay.
We've got a couple other hands raised. Next up is Rajasekar. Welcome to the
Yeah.
stage.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks for doing this one. This is a very good, interesting topic, which is really helpful to how to build the agent. One of the question I have is like, how do we integrate MCP? Like, okay, there is a service or something which is available. I want to bring that, bring other things within your platform to integrate with MCP, right? There is some different agents which is also already available. I want to bring those and try to connect all those agents. How we can do that one?
Can you expand on that a little bit? Like, give me a use case that you do.
Okay, I have the agent, which is like, okay, one test agent, which is available as MCP connections, right? Okay, we can bring the context here. And also I was like a DB, another thing is like a DB, like a database agent, which is available. I want to build a new agent and bring those as a context here and then build the entire pipeline. So like if I
so
want to bring...
your existing agents have access to use tools to call APIs, or can
no,
call via APIs? How are they?
Those are like they are built. They already have like, okay, the exposure was only the through MCP. They don't have the actual like a API where I can call it and get entire information, right? Okay, I want to plug in those MCP within my new agent, which I built it, like how we can do it.
Okay, yeah, this is a bit esoteric for everyone. Let's follow up, ping me, we can have a side conversation.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I love to connect
This will
and
really
understand.
confuse other folks. So like,
okay,
yeah,
got
please
it.
feel free and reach out, and I'm happy to discuss it with you.
Okay, sure.
Regardless, thank you for your question.
Yes, thanks so much.
Looking forward to discussing more. Next up, with their hand raised is Jeriel. Welcome to the stage.
Hey guys, I clicked the wrong link. My name is Ryan. Jarrell's on my team. So, anyways, my name's Ryan.
Hi, Ryan.
Hello. I got one that I hope I can do a follow-up question on. But Dimitri, let's stay with this. We're going to go down the rabbit hole and check out other things in here. If I wanted to create like a conversational AI, let's just say it's a whatever, a sales agent. Okay. I want to create a sales agent in this. Can we implement voice into this? Can we use our own clone voices from wherever we're cloning, throw these into the blocks, make these accessible? We can do omni-channel. We can make it email, text, throw it in my WhatsApp, throw it in my Discord, my whatever. All those possibilities are there.
Yeah, we have native blocks that support for, for voice and connectors to other, systems, Slack, whatever. And again, and if they're not available, it's super easy to create additional blocks or other connectors to connect it to any. Yeah, super
Okay,
flexible.
my follow-up for you, Dimitri. As far as outreach, if I want to do things and have my conversational through email or text or whatever, I'm going to need an outreach, right? Do you guys have any partnerships with whatever, Twilio or anybody that for outreach, or is that something we need to set up on our own and then we simply just point to the agent and API it or however we decide to do that?
Yeah, you create a Twilio account,
Yeah.
and then you give your agent access to that Twilio account to be able to send
Mhm.
messages. Yeah.
Okay. But my question was kind of like, are you working on getting partnerships with outreach stuff so that we don't have to have multiple things where you just be like, oh, come in here, cool. I need the Twilio, pick Twilio. We sign up, get it right through you guys, and it keeps us all in the same house. I don't know.
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, we at this moment we're not doing it. Again, we're a small team and kind of we're picking the places where we spend time, but that totally makes sense. Eventually, I suspect that we would do that. But yeah, but at this moment, it's like easy enough. You got to go create an account on Twilio or like any other
Yep.
service that you're using, OAuth to it, and then you're good to go and you can use it.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
Just
but we do that for models. So like we obviously already do it for models, meaning you don't have to go to all those model providers and create accounts and get your own API keys. All of this is using our API keys, and we're basically multi-tenanting it. And so we like
yeah,
that kind of a convenience, and so it makes sense to do it for other things, but at this moment we just haven't done it.
yeah, and somebody else was asking about white label, so I'm going to piggyback on that since I'm on here. Maybe I'll answer it for him. Can we white label? Can we do this as our agency and allow either us to do that for our clients or allow our clients to have an interface to come in and start getting more savvy? We can teach them as they go because we'd like to take them off the teat, if you will, and let them go do what they want because we'll nickel and dime the living shit out of them with everything they want done.
Yeah, it's not a white label per se where like they don't know that it's Mind Studio powering it. So we don't have that kind of a white label. But
That's
that's
fine.
what all those partners are doing is they're helping organizations create custom tools, custom agents, automations, etc. And you can set up a workspace, we call it. So your customer can get a new workspace. In that workspace, you can get them to have users that are, authorized users to use it. You can put agents in that workspace. You can restrict agents only to these users or those users. So we've got lots of granular rights management to be able to implement it into organizations where you guys manage it, they use it. You can keep helping them build it or modify it, give them rights to build or not. Like you can do all of that.
And then last one, I promise. Conversely, can I do this for our customers because 98% of them wouldn't have a clue what to do, and I'd rather keep them out of the cookie jar altogether and just do it for them. They don't need to see anything at all. We do what they want. We're the liaison between humans telling us what they want, and we put it together. And then can we deploy these wherever we need to for them, or will they always be housed and hosted inside of Mind Studio?
Well, again, they're hosted in the cloud. They're just URLs in the cloud, right? And so like you could put them behind, like you could create a page somewhere in like their internal dashboards, and you can create links to these things, not give them edit rights. They can just use them, or you can give them again the Chrome extension and say create a whole category just for them, and say these are your tools that are available. So there's like a bunch of ways to package that. By the way, these are all great questions, and so thanks for asking them.
Thank you. Appreciate the time. Very cool, man. Good luck with everything. I'm in the same boat with you, buddy. We're on the row, and we're a 9-man team, and we got to pick and choose what we focus on. So I get where you're at, but it's a very good start and really cool things in here. And we're gonna go down the rabbit hole. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Be well.
Thank you. Next up to the stage, we have JT. Welcome.
Thanks. question about like running the agents. So is there information that can be saved between sessions? Specifically, what I'm kind of getting at is, let's say I have 100 documents and I want to get synthesis out of that. And then I want to ask some questions. And then later I want to provide some more information and ask some more questions and so on and so forth, or have it write something based on a question, right? But I don't want to have to go in and reanalyze and run all that, processing around my initial thing once it's kind of learned it. So is there like a way of sort of storing something between requests? In that way?
Yeah, there are a number of ways to do it. One is built into the platform is something called global variables. And so you can use those global variables to store things. So this long-term storage, and you can query them on every run. And so that's one way to do it. Another way to do it is you can use your own data store of whatever type. And again, you can store things in databases and retrieve things from databases or files or whatever as you're running this thing. So it's a matter of architecture depending on what you're doing of how you store it.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Next up to the stage, we have Sharath. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, Dimitri and Louis. Thanks for hosting this webinar. Quick question. In terms of the model that the agents use, so it could be Gemini. You also mentioned that you can choose. It could be Claude or Gemini or ChatGPT. But what if I have a subscription to their professional? Can I use that, or that's of no use using your platform?
That's of no use in using our platform because again, by default, all of our model blocks use our API keys and going through. So you might have your own, like I've got my own professional, OpenAI account, and I use that when I want to do like some ad hoc thing and I just need to ask a model something. But when I'm building agents, I'm using the Mind Studio account. If you are on our business plan, and again, you've got a need to use like your own private model of some sort, and you want to use your own API keys, we can facilitate that, but we need to talk to you about like what the use case is and give you pricing and all of that for it. So it's not like sort of self-service. But yeah, you can call your own sort of models or use your own API keys, but that's not on that community tier.
Okay, so what it could mean is if my use case is low to moderate, then I don't need a professional subscription. I could just use your platform and the agents. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. That's right. Yeah, that's the default state. The default state is you get access to all of those model providers and all those models, and you don't have to create any accounts. You can just start using it right away.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next up to the stage, we have Benita. Welcome.
Hey, thank you. So when you gave the demo, I saw that the workflow that you created was more sequential. It went from one step to the next. But is it possible also to create like a parallel way to process? Like, let's say I'd have a page and I want 3 different prompts to happen, and then in some way collate all of them together. Is it possible that I could run parallelly process? Does the platform provide the capability to parallelly process, let's say 3 prompts at a time?
It does. The platform allows the capability to, in fact, we could see it as we were running the debugger, that it opens up multiple threads to go and crawl all the pages simultaneously and then compile all that data. And it does all of that in parallel. It doesn't do it sequentially. And so, yeah, this is a run workflow block. It's a matter of running a workflow, and you can loop through these workflows and create multiple threads simultaneously. You can also, there's a bunch of ways to architect it. You can also create agents that manage other agents. And so in a sense, you can create an agent that's a tool for a manager agent to use. And that agent can be calling other agents and doing stuff as well. I'm going to do, this is a, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, this is actually probably a great segue to ask folks, like if they'd be interested in maybe doing some deeper dive sessions.
Yeah, we want to do more advanced. This is a great topic, and we want to do more advanced sessions. So would you guys be, maybe we see it in chat, be interested in like more advanced ones, like for the folks that are here? Okay,
yes.
So yeah, so we will dive into, like, we barely scratched the surface. Like the demos I gave you arguably are trivial. Like they're superpowers, they're amazing. They will change your life by using them. But from like a capability of Mind Studio, they were trivial. We can take you deeper into this, and this certainly would be one of the topics of how to do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have one more hand raised. Krishna, welcome to the stage.
Hi, thank you. So a quick question. One of the agents you showed, which is YouTube to LinkedIn, which reads the transcript, right? So what if a particular video doesn't have a transcript? Let's say if I have a Zoom recording, I want to summarize the Zoom recording. Is it possible?
So meaning it's a Zoom recording and you didn't publish it to YouTube, you just recorded Zoom. So Zoom, I don't know if it automatically generates the transcripts or not, meaning today we don't have a block that sort of generates transcripts from video. So like we couldn't help on that. You would need to get some kind of something else to take that Zoom video if it didn't automatically create a transcript, get it to create a transcript, and then use that as input to Mind Studio, to the block. Yeah.
Okay. So a follow-up on that. So Udemy has a transcript, right? So now if I want to use this for Udemy, like if I'm learning something on Udemy, and how do I integrate Udemy to do this?
Yeah, so again, you'd need to see if you could use simply, so we've got a number of blocks. One of the blocks is like scrape URL block, basically the parse a page block. So if the content's on the page, you could do that. You can do it with the Chrome extension, which is like you're on the page. If you can see the transcript, you can hit a button and it'll grab the page content. YouTube does a good job at like obfuscating the transcript. So by default, like it's not sort of opened up in the HTML. But so again, it just depends. I think we'd have to look at it. If it's specifically Udemy, maybe follow up with me and I'll see if I can help you get it all wired up. But as long as you can see it, chances are that, overwhelmingly that the Mind Studio extension can see it, and then you can do that. Or if you want to crawl it, that's also another way of doing it.
Okay.
And again, for a bunch of these things, even if it's not like sort of natively available in Mind Studio, you can write a little function that does it, or you can write another service that does it. Like sometimes you might need to do some technical work to make a connector work, but then once it's done, you get the benefit of automation and all of that stuff.
Yeah, one thing we also did not cover is user input blocks, which allow you to provide that context directly into the AI workflow. So
yeah, like to upload if you want to upload something. Yeah. Here, let me actually quickly show you. That might be interesting for you guys to see. And I can do it really rapidly because, again, this is Mind Studio and we can build things rapidly. I'm going to say create new agent. I'm going to go to automations. And over here, I'm going to say plus user input. And let me say plus and we'll create a new one. And on the right-hand side, take a look. You see, we allow you to create basically forms of different types that can be presented to the user that's using the agent. In this case, maybe you or somebody else. One of them is upload file. And so here, upload file, and then I'll call this whatever data, that's the variable that comes up. And here we can give it a label, upload a Udemy transcript or whatever. You can call it whatever you want. And there it is. And now you've got this user input here. And so when this thing runs, what this thing is going to do is it's going to present this upload thing. So if you've got the transcript, if you've downloaded the transcript, or you've got a PDF, like again, this doesn't just have to be like web pages and HTML and stuff. It can be anything that can be sort of understood by a model, digested by a model. So like anything textual. Here on this one, you can actually also specify, do you allow all types of files extractable or only PDFs, or you can see Excel and CSV, doc, text, HTML, etc. So you can create these and you can chain them and do all that.
thank you for your question. Next up to the stage, we have Pradeep. Welcome to the stage.
Hey guys, thank you again for going through this. I apologize if I'm asking something that's already been answered. I kind of missed a portion of the session.
No worries at all. Yeah, no worries.
I just wanted to ask because for some clients of mine, I would love to be able to offer this as a white label solution where I'm building it for multiple clients, right? And I just don't know, is that possible to do and then charge them, whatever I'm charging them? Is that possible to do? And then if they have to make changes, to the prompt or whatever, like, how would I do this? Is it possible?
Yeah, so there are a lot of people that are doing this already using Mind Studio. So let me explain generally how it's done.
Okay.
First of all, let me take a step back. Pretty much every company of every size in every industry in every country, etc., is trying to figure out how they can leverage AI to make their operations more efficient, smarter, faster, etc. So this is a common need from everyone to do this like AI-driven digital transformation. There's like these analysts like Forrester and Gartner and all those folks have been reporting that like all of the budgets in IT are flowing, being robbed from other projects and flowing into building, AI solutions for enterprise. So there's a great need for people to do this kind of work. Check. Mind Studio, as you can already see, is a straightforward, easy, fast, efficient way to build these like really powerful custom solutions for all kinds of clients. Check. You can be the builder of those solutions. And let's say you've got 5 different customers. You can, for each customer, create an account for them, or they can create an account for them and invite you into the account, the workspace. So you're an admin of it, so you can use it. And then you can build for them these custom solutions that are only available to them in their workspace and only available to the people that are authorized to use their workspace. You can add those into little buttons on the Chrome extension. And so only their employees in marketing, they have access to these buttons, and their employees in sales have access to those buttons. You're managing all of that for them. They don't ever have to learn how to build any of these things because they rely on you for building those things for them, right? And so this is and then for another customer, you can set up the exact same kind of a thing, and you can do it that way, right? And again, that we see people, that's all those partners that I showed. I don't know if you were here when I was showing the partner directory. That's what those partners are doing, is engaging their customers in this type of relationship where they are, building and managing these applications for them. There is no white label. Some people say, can I take Mind Studio and obfuscate it so my customers don't know that I'm using Mind Studio to build these things? And the answer to that is no. At this time. Yeah.
Okay.
You can obfuscate it a little bit, meaning these things expose APIs. And so some people in a sense have hacked it to launch it as APIs, create custom front ends, call these APIs, and then sort of like process the front end and not tell the customer. That's fine. Again, we're not going to stop you from doing it, but like, please don't reach out to our support and try to get them to help you build that, because that's just not something we can support at this time officially, but like you could do that.
Okay, so if to just run with your example of 5 customers, you can create a workspace and invite them, blah blah blah, right? Let's say I do that for a customer and I build a certain agent, right? If I wanted to replicate that agent for another customer of mine, can I just copy this, or I have to redo it from start?
No, you can copy it. Yeah, you can copy agents.
Across
You can
workspaces.
copy. Yeah, you can copy agents. You can copy individual blocks. You can copy groups of blocks. You can copy workflows, which is what agents are made of. Yeah, I didn't show you that, but you can highlight them and copy them.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking the question.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. Next up to the stage, we have Rakesh. Welcome.
Hey, hi. Hey, thanks for this wonderful webinar. I think it was really helpful. So one use case that I have is like, say for example, if I'm from the marketing side and I have zero technical knowledge and I'm just exploring, my students been like wonderful. So the use case that I have is like I have a bunch of like companies. It could be competitors, it could be key customers. I want to probably go and on a daily basis track, their news to see if there's any new update that has come, and then put that update on to like a chat GPT or a Claude and see, how does it impact me or my company, and send me a daily update like a digest email with a summary of that. So how do I build that?
Let me show you.
That's great.
That's the fun thing about things like this. So you guys can see my screen. Again, we'll call this daily competitor tracker.
Competitor or customer tracker, like,
Or yeah, you can call it anything you want. You can do all that, right? And
Right.
so you can set this up, as I said, to either run on demand or via an email that you send it, or via browser extension, or scheduled. And here in the schedule, you
Right.
can say run this, every day at 9 a.m. Pacific, right? Okay. Or more, like you can go and you can say generate schedule, and this thing is going to do it. And maybe we say, well, it's not every day. We're going to do it every weekday or whatever. And this says every day, and say save. Okay. By the way, I'm not gonna say save here because I've done this before in demos and then I forget to stop it
Sure.
and it just keeps running. But like you get the point
No problem.
how it's done. You
Yeah.
just say scheduled. Okay. And then you say, well, what do you want to do? Well, one thing you might want to do is like, where are you going to get the data? One way to get the data is like you could scrape URL. And here this could
Right.
be, again, your competitor's website or your competitor's website and the page on that website. And then you can get the variable, and you'll call this whatever, competitor scrape. And so that's one way to do it. So you can do it this way. Another way to do it is you can use something like, Google Trends, right? And so you could search Google Trends. And so you could be searching for a bunch of queries in Google Trends. As you can see here, we support multiple simultaneously. And so you might not be searching just for your competitor name, but for other things that are related to it. And so you can search Google Trends, or you can search Twitter for your competitor stuff. So you can do lots of data gathering. And then you can have it email you the thing because we've got blocks. So there's actually two ways to do it. One way is at the send block, you can say email notifications enabled. And here you can just put in recipients. And so whenever this thing runs on a schedule, it's going to do it. In the middle of it, like once it gets the data, then you want to call a model, just like you said, and say, here's the data, analyze it. If there's something interesting, only then send me an email. If they're not, drop it on the floor, look at it again tomorrow. So these things are actually really straightforward to do. I actually think we've got, Louise, correct me if I'm wrong, but videos on our YouTube channel of similar use cases like this. And so check that out. If not, we'll certainly cover
Sure.
it in
So,
like
Yeah.
So this is great, thanks. And but one question or like is that if I have like multiple links and I want to like do it in the same workflow, do I have to create like different workflows for different links?
No. You can just create another block and search the other link. I don't know if you were here at the beginning where I showed the researcher that actually crawls,
Yeah.
dozens and sometimes hundreds of sites. So like, yeah, you can connect to many different links in the same workflow in the same agent and collect all that data and analyze all the data together. Like you might say, get info from this competitor, then get info from this competitor and this competitor, put them all together and look at all of them three together. And if something is true, then go do that.
Okay. So you're saying that something like this is already there on the YouTube and I can go check out, right? Okay, sure.
Yeah, and if not,
I'll do
again,
that.
ping us. We'll first of all be doing more advanced sessions. It sounds like
Sure.
lots of people want them, and this is an easy one for us to handle in those advanced sessions.
Sure. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Mhm.
Thank you for your question. Next up to the stage, we have Mohammed. Welcome.
Hi. First of all, thank you so much for this session. Really amazing. Something really new for me. Actually, I have one scenario that I wanted to check with you guys, more like from the execution point of view. So like I work in product where we work with a lot of finance companies and a lot of marketing companies. So let's say that if a campaign is running and their budget is hitting 80% of their spend. So is there a way we could trigger an execution in the way that if they hit 80% of consumption, we top it up a bit more, the budget of the campaign? Or let's say that like we work with finance companies, if there is a certain price that a stock has hit, we can trigger a transaction or we can trigger a buy or a sell. Is that something that is possible to do through MindMe right now, or is that yet to come?
No, yeah. So you've got some system that's tracking spend and
Yes.
doing a buying. And so
Yes.
all that system needs to do is have a trigger that when it hits these thresholds that you want, it calls
Yeah.
the Mind Studio agent via an API and triggers it that way. Yeah. So like really straightforward to do.
So if it's like a Facebook campaign, so we should connect it to Facebook and then try to track a specific campaign, and then we would trigger at, let's say, 80% of this budget, and then it should trigger a top up for that specific campaign. That's what I'm asking, going a bit more specific
I see.
about a campaign
Yeah.
within.
So I don't know whether Facebook itself has built in the capability to call out APIs based upon those thresholds. If the answer is yes, then yes. Or if you are using, sort of another application you've built that then is managing Facebook, then that application would have the capability. So it just depends. Like whatever is tracking that threshold and
Yeah.
has the ability to call APIs, that can call, we're just an API you can call.
Oh, you can just
Your
call it.
agent is an API you can call. Yeah.
Okay. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up to the stage, we have Herschel. Welcome.
Hey, yeah, thank you. This is a great webinar and perfect introduction to DeepMind Studio. I'm sure you guys are planning for more deeper sessions. That would be really interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Just a question about function calling and or calling into some enterprise data repositories or websites from which that is a proprietary data, right? But if I'm building agent to get that data from that particular system, which is behind the DMZ zones, is it possible to do function calling into those secure zones?
It is. Again, somebody would need to allow you to
Correct.
basically to open up a port and
Yep.
allow you to connect, like give you credentials. But yeah, like you can call APIs.
Okay.
And we don't care where those APIs live. They could live in DMZs, they can live in the public cloud. So like, yeah, just as long as you've got access to it, I mean your
Right.
agent has access to it, then it can make the call.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you. Thank you. Next up to the stage, we have, I apologize if I mispronounce your name, but Jeroen.
Yes, sorry, it's very Dutch, but yeah, thank you for the explanation. I was wondering if there's a possibility to also build an agent to automatically reach out to investors for a certain company and follow up.
Yes. Can you give us more specifics on that, what it would do?
Yeah, let's say I have a company and that is looking for investors, and that company is in the hydrogen space, and so if the agent can look up the investors who are in that area, so in investing in hydrogen with certain tickets, size, and a certain stage of the company, and then it automatically reaches out to those investors with the information of the company, and of course follow up, or can make an appointment or whatever is needed to get that investment done.
Makes sense. Yes, absolutely. So again, you've got the capability to search for companies based upon criteria. So you can use Google search or Twitter or like other search mechanisms, or you could have a list of of investors that you already know and get them. You've got the capability to find email addresses and phone numbers and other information about those folks, or you might have that already in a database. You've got the ability to automate sending of emails, or if you wanted to, again, integrate to telephony, Twilio, etc., you could even send like SMS messages and things of that sort. You've got the ability to monitor inboxes, let's say on Gmail or any other service, and see if you're getting responses, and if you're not, you can have follow-up things. So like you just need to build the workflows, and then push run, and they just sort of run on their own and doing it. On the other side of that, we're actually building a new category called for venture capitalists, because we're VC backed, and some of our venture capital friends have similar requests, but on the opposite side, where they're trying to find good companies to invest in. And they've got to do a lot of research, and it takes them a long time to try to like track stages and industries and last raises and all that. And so we're building a small suite of agents specifically for venture capitalists to be able to do, deal discovery and deal flow management and all that. But yeah, all of that totally makes sense.
Cool.
And again, these are the kinds of things that once we do some of these more advanced trainings, like all of these are parts, at least, of things that are interesting to look at. Again, we really just scratch the surface on the build side of what Mind Studio can be used to do and kind of the patterns of doing it. So we're excited to, take you guys deeper.
Yeah. Awesome.
Thanks for the question.
Thank you. We have one hand raised currently, but Dimitri, I just want to make sure we're getting to the 2 hour mark. Do you still have time to stay on?
If people want to stay on, I've got more coffee. And so
Okay,
when the coffee runs out, there's going to be sort of a decay in my ability, but I still have like a good like fifth of a cup. So let's keep going.
Okay, just making sure. Want to be conscious of your calendar.
No worries. No, thanks guys for being here. Again, I think this is like valuable. We're excited that you guys are seeing what we've seen. Ourselves here, we feel like we've got superpowers and we can do stuff. And so the more of you that feel the same way, hopefully the better our world gets. So I appreciate the questions. Please keep going. I'm going to put on a jacket. It's kind of cold here in my little.
Well, while Dimitri puts on a jacket, up to the stage, we have Durga. Welcome.
Yeah, thanks, Dimitri, and thanks, Lois. Great session. Awesome. I think it's just my dumb luck that what I want to ask was actually the last two questions. So let me piggyback on the same stuff. One is like, if I'm crawling, the sites or wherever it is to get the data, right? Especially looking for the cyber threats. I'm not sure, should I ask this one? Like, can I also sweep dark websites? That's first one. And the second one is like going back to the venture capitalists or angel investors or that space, right? I want to know who else are in that renewable energy space. So I got lucky with the two questions, but I just want to hear from you guys.
Okay, sorry. The second question is, who else are we building? Can you repeat
I'm trying
the
to find out
question?
who else are in that renewable energy space, like the competitors or who the entrepreneurs working in that space, renewable energy space.
So you want to build an agent that finds people that are working in this space?
Yeah, just like VCs are trying to find the right entrepreneurs, so I'm trying to do the other way around to see who else is working on that space.
Yeah, so again, I think the right way. I lied. So we've got 7 minutes because I do have a. Actually, I'm going to reschedule.
That's what I was asking about.
Here. Louis, could you do me a favor and get somebody? I want to stay on this. Could you maybe get somebody like Jerry or somebody's got access to my email to ping these folks and reschedule for me, please?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, so the right way to think about all of this is, could you onboard a new human to do the thing that you want the agent to do? and if you could, meaning let's assume that you had like this really intelligent human that said, I'm willing to do whatever it is you need me to do. I'm smart. I know how to use the internet. I'm actually amazing. I've got like superhuman speed, blah, blah, blah. I can do whatever you need me to do. Explain to me what you want me to do. And you might say, well, I want you to like track this space, you know, of renewable energy. Okay, great. Can you give me any more details? Like, tell me what to do. Do I need to go and track a bunch of keywords on Google Trends? Do I need to go do a bunch of searches? Do I need to do a bunch of social listening? Like, what does it mean to do it? If you can define that generally, then you can build agents to do that because we've got like all the core components to be able to access systems and like analyze things and do all of that. And so like the space, whether it's renewable energy or something else, doesn't matter. What matters is like, where's the data? Is it available? Can you get to it? And then like, then what? What kind of an analysis do you want? Right? And if you can just articulate that and just like bullet points, that's really all that's needed for doing that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks for asking a question.
Thank you. Next up to the stage, we have Francis. Welcome. Francis, are
Hi.
you still there? Yes. Welcome. Welcome.
Yeah, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, must confess, man, I'm submitting to this total thing, man. You guys are doing a great job. I've been through, at first, when I saw your logo, I was like, is this a make copy and all of that? Then I started listening to the content and I was like, no, these guys are going crazy. Thumbs up. Nice one, guys. Now, I'm pretty much very, very fascinated by the fact that you guys are backed by venture capital firm, and that means you guys are churning out lots and lots and loads and loads of stuffs to come. And I will have to put a notification on your LinkedIn page, put a notification on your YouTube, and I'll follow your sessions and look at how you build the stuffs, especially now that I am very curious about the advanced sessions. I would like you guys to, if possible, send out, as you're sending out the recording, the next immediate advanced sessions. And if you don't mind, I've seen like some general requests. I took time to go through the messages, right? And I'm like, okay, it would be very interesting to see something around MCP integration with your products, right? And then especially if there's a way you can do like an advanced session, knowing that people coming to that session are guys who already understand the basics, yeah? And they just want to fly, right? So it will make sense to say, okay, let's do something we know is typically generic for people who are advanced. Something like, can we just build something from scratch, then integrate, like do like a cloud integration ultimately, and then have the MCP integration all in one workflow. And then I think we're going to take away a lot of value from that. We're really going to take away a lot of value from that. I'm really looking forward to it. Once again, thanks, guys. I really, really appreciate this. I really do, because I'm trying to also start an agency, and this is really helping me, you know, look at the cracks that I was already making, and now I can see some value. Thanks once more.
Amazing.
Looking forward to a lot from you guys. Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, we'll make it happen.
Okay.
Other questions?
Next up to the stage, we have Rose.
Yeah,
Welcome.
hi. Can you guys hear me?
We can,
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Yeah, first of all, just thank you. Such amazing session. I definitely learned a ton just in the last an hour or so. So it's super amazing. So I think my question is very general because it sounds like we are going to have a follow-up deep dive session. And in order to make it more productive, so I'm wondering, do you think we should suggest people, because when I hear other people's great ideas, should we, submit ideas? Because I feel like the deep dive for me, I'm a virtual learner. So if you can show me, just the flow, calling out some of the key component, I can get it. So I feel like it will be okay to submit the topics before, and then we'll help you, to structure the deep session so to make it more productive, more efficient.
That would be great.
I think
Luis,
that,
could you maybe
we're
put it
gonna
on
make a post. We're gonna make a post in the LinkedIn group. So what I would suggest is join the LinkedIn group and then leave a comment. And I think that's how we'll start to take suggestions for the deep dive sessions. But I think that's a great idea, Rose.
Yeah, for all of you guys, just again, reminder, if you haven't installed extension, install the extension. Please join our group, LinkedIn is I think where we met most of you, because I just made a post and that's how everybody showed up. So it sounds like you all use it. Please join that group. If you use Facebook, we've got a Facebook group also. That's a great place to ask questions. We answer questions in these groups. So and I love this idea, Rose, of submitting requests for things that we could do in trainings. Again, if people are interested in learning, and I can see that everybody is, we'll do many, and even sort of like parallel paths of like the super technical stuff, people want MCP and other things, and then, like maybe other tracks of people that are specifically interested in building agents that are running autonomously, not in the Chrome extension, or like other things. So like, let's figure out what everybody wants and we'll break them up into the right sessions and let you find whatever it is you're looking for.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
thanks so much. Mhm.
Okay, next up to the stage, we have Kate. Welcome.
Hi, thank you. Hi, Dmitry. Thank you for
Hello.
the presentation. I have two questions. One is easy and one's a little bit hard. First question is, are you planning on having a Safari extension?
Yes.
Okay, in the future?
Don't know exactly when, but we will.
Okay,
And Edge is obviously the other one that's also going to be next.
Okay, that's awesome. And then the hard question is, you showed a lot of business cases where this is usable. Can you think of any one specific business case where this would not be a good solution? Like perhaps something out in the left field?
Well, so again, I think the
It's a tough question.
no, it's okay. Yeah, the right way to think about Mind Studio, in my opinion, is that it allows you, whatever it is that your business case is, to look at your business case, so like what is it that you're doing, how you're doing it, humans doing stuff, etc. And then saying, is there any part of this, process workflow case that I could use Mind Studio to sort of fill in and automate and make better. So there might be, again, a bunch of business processes where you wouldn't sort of want to use Mind Studio to completely automate them, but you might use Mind Studio to create agents that take parts of the process and assist the humans in doing it or automate things so humans can do other things. So I can't think of any place where you'd say, well, I definitely wouldn't find a use for Mind Studio, because if there are people that are doing work, well, chances are you can build things for them to have them do that exact same work, but better, faster, smarter, etc. And certainly not like an industry thing that would say, oh, this industry doesn't have these cases versus another industry. I think all industries in a sense are sort of already represented in Mind Studio, these 150,000 things that have been built. But anyway, so yeah, no, I don't know. If you had like more kind of specific thing of like, could you do it for this, for that, that would be an easier thing to answer.
No, I think that's a great way to think about it because I think a lot of times people try to fit it over a major process, but breaking it down, I think that's a great way to think about it.
Yeah,
Even
thank
if
you
it's like one person or one little, anywhere you can inject some help and automation. Okay, thank you so
By the way,
much.
that's a word I tend to use as well. Thank you for using it. I like to think of this as the ability to sort of inject intelligence automation into places. And you can oftentimes, again, if you take somebody's job, and again, any kind of a company or any kind of an industry, and you like look at what they actually do, you realize that like they do a bunch of things that require time, but aren't actually all that intelligent. But they just sort of need to do them. And when you see that, that's the perfect place to spend, 5, 10, 15 minutes and build them a custom tool that just lets them push a button and it just does all that stuff for them, or build something that's automated that just runs every day or every hour or whatever and does it for them. And like solving those small little things that are sort of small for you to solve because it only took you 5 to 10 minutes to build the agent because they're really easy to build. But to them, that's amazing because now they know they don't have to remember to do those things anymore. They don't like doing those repetitive, dumb things. And so I'm certain that every job function, in every human, in any job function can benefit from custom, agents, tools to help them do their job function better, take things off their plate, etc. People describe Mind Studio to me in a bunch of different ways. One of my favorite ways is it's like AI duct tape. I don't know if you guys know what duct tape is. Duct tape is like this really strong tape that you can use to sort of like connect things together that aren't quite perfect, right? Like, oh, there's a seam, great, I'll put some duct tape over it. And that makes it much better. And I love it in that way because when you start thinking of it as this like really lightweight thing that you can do to like connect some things together and make them better, think of it like AI duct tape. And then it fits in every organization, every job function, and kind of answers your question broadly.
Yes, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Kate. Next up to the stage, we have Kamaljit. Welcome.
Yeah, hi, thank you. Excellent presentation, guys. Awesome. I have a quick question on the partnership. What kind of partners can have partnership with Mind Studio?
The vast majority of the partners in our partner directory are, sorry, forget vast majority. There's a diverse group of partners in our partner directory. Some are just individuals who specialize, they're consultants basically, that specialize in building these AI agents. Meaning last year they weren't specialized in building AI agents, they were doing some other kind of consulting work. They were building custom applications for businesses, or they were doing IT integration, or they were doing kind of business process automation consulting, or they were building websites, or they were doing design work, or whatever they were doing, where they were servicing small businesses or medium-sized or enterprises with some kind of work. And then they found Mind Studio and came to us and said, oh, either my client is asking me to build something for them using Mind Studio, can I become a partner? Or I'd like to take Mind Studio and go to companies and again, engage with them in building these things from scratch. There's like individuals all the way up to, some partners that have over 8,000 employees that are like larger integrators and builders and sort of everything in between. I don't know exactly how many there are, but there's over 150 of them that are around. It might even be over 200 there now. To become a partner, you need to apply, and we need to make sure that you're able to build these things. You got to pass a test, and then you can be part of our partner directory. Companies approach us quite frequently asking for help. Like, could we recommend a partner to them to work with? Even though they could do the work themselves, because Mind Studio is easy to learn and do, they don't want to do the work themselves. They're busy doing, running their company, but they'd like somebody to help them, look at their operations through this new lens of, AI digital transformation, help them level up. And so, yeah, you just need to apply. We've got a partner manager, Danielle, who's actually on vacation. She's just coming back, but she can get in touch with you and help you guys get up to speed on that.
Dimitri, aren't there different levels of partners? I'm looking at your partner page. It looks like there are different levels of certifications that one needs to do.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There are multiple levels of certification that are available there, and there's actually a third party that holds classes and does certifications. And so, yeah, all of that can be found, like kind of the details of it can be found on that partners page.
Can I get connected to the person who deals with partners?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Danielle's actually in the chat. Her email or the email to reach out for partners is in the chat. So you can just email
partners at
mindstudio.ai.
mindstudio.ai. Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well, we don't have any other hands raised at the moment, Dimitri.
Well, that's perfect because soon I will be out of coffee. Okay, well then let me wrap it up. So a couple of things. If all of a sudden you guys have more questions and you're still awake at 4 o'clock in the afternoon Pacific time today, in just a few hours, join us for the next masterclass that we will be leading then, and feel free to ask questions then. There's another one that's scheduled at the same time next Tuesday. And that one already has, I think, like 600 RSVPs. So feel free and join us there as well. Please join our groups. That's the fastest, easiest way to get questions answered, sort of ad hoc. You could get them answered from us or other people. It's a great way to network. Again, periodically I see, people say, hey, I'm doing this project for, this company. It's kind of like too big for me. Maybe I could partner with some folks. So like there's a community that's starting to build, and we encourage you guys to, to partner and do all of that. Again, really appreciate your time and interest, and expect to do a lot more of these. All right, guys. Yeah, thank you so much for being here and for all the feedback. And we'll see you in those LinkedIn and Facebook groups, and hopefully on other webinars that we do as well. And
thanks,
have a great
everyone. Great
weekend.
session. Have a good day.
You all. Take care.